So everybody, welcome. Come on in. If we can close the doors in the back, that would be wonderful, if that's okay. Anybody's in the back? We're about to take you on a beautiful journey. Hope you're all ready. Sufism takes you to the deepest parts of your being. So I'm looking forward to sharing that journey with you today. My name is Salima, and we're going to start, since all of you, I am extremely grateful that you chose to be with us instead of You've Got Talent next door. So in honor of that, we want to start with a little song for you that sort of represents the light and the love that we're going to be talking to you about. So I am technically challenged. Yasmina's not.
Now I've been happy lately about good things to come, and I believe it could be something good has been done.
Oh, I've been smiling lately, dreaming about the world just fun, and I believe it could be someday it's gonna come.
'Cause I'm on the edge of darkness, there rise a peace train. Oh, peace train, me take this country day, come take me home.
Now I've been smiling lately, thinking about the good things to come, and I believe it could be something good has been done. Train sounding loud, right on the beach train.
About the world as it is. Why must we go on hating? Why can't we live in rest? Peace train sounding loud, light on the peace train. Who are you? Come on, peace train. Peace train, holy road. Everyone jump on the peace train. Who are you? Come on, come on, come on.
Just sing along. You have the party side.
Come on, come on, come on. Let's go on peace train.
Come on, come on, come on.
Come on, peace train.
Peace train.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Ed Stevens. So this peace train and the Sufi path are very similar, because what the transformation is all about is transforming places in yourself that may be in separation, that may be suffering, into places of peace and love and mercy and justice and freedom. Because otherwise we're just stuck in a prison of our own ego. I started the Sufi path, I don't know, 25 years ago, I think. And when I started the Sufi path, I wasn't sure I really wanted to be on the Sufi path, to be honest with you. Because I was on a meditation path and I loved it. And I enjoyed the experience of, and some of you may know this experience, of blissing out. But it never really taught me how to live in the world. And that was the difference in what I learned in the Sufi way. It taught me how to take that love, that experience of happiness and bliss and joy, and live it in the world. My name, Salima, it actually means the one who carries the peace of God in her heart. When Sufi Sheikh gave me that name, I laughed, because that was far from the state of my heart. I would describe myself as a Boston rebel. Right? You know, if there was something to stand up and have a good cause and fight for, that was me. Even in college, I'm going to age myself now, but I got called into the president's office because in college, it was during the Vietnam War, and I was protesting against the war and protesting against war in general. And the president said to me, "I'm not so sure this college is for you, because my term paper, I was in such a rush to get it done. It was back in the days of typewriters. I put my hands on the wrong keys, so it was totally gibberish." No, I didn't have time. I was out fighting for the world cause, right? But what I learned in this Sufi path and what we're going to be sharing with you tonight is a map to get us out of ourselves and out of all the good that we think that we want to do in the world, and have us look at what's really going on within us so that we can be that light and love and mercy and justice and compassion and freedom in the world. And that's what we want to share with you tonight, a little taste of it. Because the Sufis say you can't read about us in a book, even though there's lots of books, including God's Way here, including Music of the Soul. But Sufism is an experience that you have. It's a tasting. There's a story from the Prophet ﷺ where he was with his companions, and he held up a jar of honey, and he said to them, "What is this? What's in this jar?" And one of his companions said, "Honey." And another companion said, "I'm not sure. It could be lots of things." So the third, because it's yellow color, yellow could be lots of things, right? The third companion stuck his finger in, tasted it, and said, "Yes, this is honey." So we can talk to you from now till tomorrow and the next day and the next day. But what we really want you to experience is that tasting, so that you know. Because once you taste, you know. Once I experienced that divine love, it was so real that I couldn't deny it. I couldn't rebel against it. My whole being just said, How can I get more? What do I need to do to get more? And our guide set out a beautiful map of 28 stations that work with the transformation of the heart and the soul and the spirit to come into unity, to come into oneness. And there's a word you'll hear me use a lot, which is inshallah. It's an Arabic word. It just means God willing. And there's another word you might hear a lot from me, which is alhamdulillah. And that just means all thanks to God. So if you hear those two words, they slip out of my tongue. Just know what they mean. So with that brief introduction, I'm going to let my partner in crime here introduce himself to you.
Okay, welcome everyone. Delighted to see so many people here this late at night. I'm really delighted. What do you think we're here on the planet? What do you think is our reason for that? Okay, growth, that's good. What else?
Evolution.
Evolution, experience. Go ahead and just throw it out, popcorn. What do you have? Remember. Good. All right, well, let me give you the Sufi rendition of this. Okay, so the story goes like this. God was in the eternal, unformed state for eons of timelessness, because there was no time. And then at some point, God wanted to be known. Okay, and in that moment, the thought came into God's mind that I need to create creation. I need to create something to know me. So with that thought, everything came into existence. All of us came into existence. But the reason we're here is to know God. Okay, now most of us forget that because we're here experiencing life, and we're busy paying bills and being on the LA freeway and doing the things you guys do out here. But the bottom line of it, you're supposed to be remembering God. So the way the story goes, the ontological story, is that God decided, once God decided to create creation, God took light from that central reality of his own being, and he created the first light. Okay, and that first light we call the first intellect. Okay, and that light, the first intellect, is also what we call Prophet Muhammad. Okay, so this first light of the first creation was put in motion. What is that creation? That creation is the meanings of all things. I mean, think about it. If I want to create an airplane, what do? I think about what I'm going to build. I'm going to think about the wings and all the things. So I create the meanings. So these meanings, this first intellect was created, and then from the meanings became the downpouring or the manifestation of creation. And then creation came into being. And eventually it came in through many, many circles. There were circles of downlaying of existence. And all of existence is trying to return back to that original source of beingness. Okay? And I'm going outside of religion or anything like that, to seek back into the union with that original state is what Sufism is all about. Okay? Now we're not trying to, bring you in any direction, but what we want you to do is we want you to have the experience of returning everything back to the one. All right, Salima, I'll give it back to you.
There's a beautiful Sufi saying. It says, I created the creation to know me. And related to that, he put inside the human being all of the beautiful qualities that represent his name, which makes the human beings very special. Part of our job, part of our work here, is to unfold. They're like seeds within our heart, to unfold those seeds of compassion, of mercy, of love, of freedom, of wisdom, of light. God said I was a hidden treasure that desired to be known. So I placed my spirit in the heart of my beloved. You are that beloved. That's why we're precious. That's why we're holy. Do you see yourself as holy? Most of us don't. Most of us don't. And that's the remembering. That's why the first Sufi practice is called remembering, because we're remembering the truth of who we are. That we're holy beings. And it's been covered over by different experiences that we've had in our life. Different pains. Right? How many people here have never made a mistake? I've got 100% record. Every time I ask that question, nobody raises their hand. Right? But we were meant to make those mistakes. If we don't wash them, they become stains upon our heart. And if we look at our heart as a mirror, have you ever been to one of those carnivals where they've got those distorted mirrors? That's oftentimes how we see ourselves, as this distorted mirror, right, of reality. So what we're doing is washing and purifying our hearts so they become like clear mirrors. There's a beautiful Sufi story about a king in Persia, and he wanted the most beautiful painting in this cave that he had. So he hired two groups of people, and he put a curtain between them so they couldn't see what each one was doing. And one group painting this beautiful mountain scenery with streams and just most absolutely gorgeous, beautiful picture that you can imagine of the countryside. Folks on the other side of the screen, unbeknownst to them, were polishing the rock of the cave. By the time they were finished, the polished rock was like clear glass. So when he took away the curtain and the king looked, he saw himself reflected in this beautiful portrait. And that's like our heart. We want our hearts to be purified and cleansed of all the mistakes, all the troubles, all the pains, all the hurts that are part of our human experience, but they still create a stain on our heart. They still make our heart hurt. And it's learning how to listen to what your heart is saying to you. And I don't know about you, but I grew up in Cambridge, Massachusetts, which was not exactly the heart center of the world. So my intellect, my mind, was always active. It was a journey just to switch this off, to listen to what was going on in here. But that's the only way that this gets purified, is to really listen and feel and see and sense what's going on. And how can I purify it? How can I wash it of all the accumulated dirt, and we call it rust in Sufism, and rust that's accumulated in my heart over the many years of having experiences and experiences and experiences. Right? So we take this journey of discovery, of discovering the essential part of that Spirit of God that God breathed into every single person. No one was exempt from that. Each of us carries that light and that love of God within our hearts. Imagine a world where we all walked around with our hearts purified and cleansed and carried that light out into the world. Is that not what our world needs now? With all the separation, all the hatred, all the darkness that's going on. It needs your light. It needs your light. So the Sufi path gives you step by step. It's like an instruction manual. My mom used to say, I didn't get an instruction manual when I became a mother. I needed one, but I never got one. In our Sufi shadowy way, we've actually gotten an instruction manual of how to purify the heart, how to walk through what we call the stations of the self, the ego, right? The stations of the heart, the stations of the soul, to find that secret treasure, that gem that lives inside of you, so you can radiate that light out into the world. My biggest surprise came when I found out I had to be in my body to do that. Right? I like those out-of-body experiences. But what I discovered, I don't know if it's true for any of you, but what I discovered is you can't access your heart if you're not in your body. The heart, the eye, we have an eye and an ear of our heart that only opens when we're in our body. So we start to have a different relationship with our body. We start to see our body as holy, as miraculous, right? When you think of all the things your body does without you controlling it, how many people here love to control things? Just think about all the things your body does automatically without you having anything to do with it, right? That's the trust in God's creation. He's got this. He's got you. We have to learn how to let go. How to let go of all those things that we think are so important that aren't going to be able to exist if we don't control them. Right? How many people feel that way? You have to let go of that control. That's only the ego trying to stay in existence. And it's going to fight. Thank goodness I was a fighter. I knew how to fight. I needed to fight a little, right? In order to surrender is a word I didn't like in the beginning. Right? In order to surrender. But what are we surrendering to? We're surrendering to something better. Right? My aunt, when I was growing up, had a candy store. I used to love after school to go by this candy store. And I had a fish. She had, back in the day, you had like these big glass bowls. And candy was a penny back then. I might be aging myself a little bit here. And there was one particular jar that I would love. But I was only allowed one piece of candy, right? Because it was going to be dinner time. So I would go and get my one piece of candy. And what I realized, the more that I purified my heart and let my ego go, is that God wanted to give me the whole candy store. And I was holding on to one silly piece. When we let go, we're trading up to something better. So just let that sink in for a minute. Let your heart really feel it. Really absorb it.
Well, I always like to have fun with my groups because we lecture so much that it actually gets old that you do the same thing again and again. So what I want you all to do is I want you to put your awareness into this book. This is kind of our textbook. And when you do that, what's going to happen is your light's going to choose the reading for your group tonight. So I'm going to just see what shows up. There you go. I can always tell because it goes right through the book. When you penetrate it, your light comes out the other side. So in the name of God, the merciful and compassionate, what is the reading for this group? Don't get away from it. Okay. All right, so this is from the Wazifa. Okay, the Wazifa is kind of the only works of Mashish. Mashish was the spiritual father of Chatelet, the Chatelet Sufi. And Mashish left only this Wazifa. So it's a very powerful and very incredible reading. And it goes through the walking from the first day as a human being till you reach the seventh station, which is inside of Kamal, which is to be a perfect master. So I'm not sure what I'm getting here, but I think we are in the level of the soul. So we're going to be looking at the soul teaching here. Okay, so he says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, he says, "O God, make the great veil the life of my spirit by unveiling and eye-witnessing, since the order is like this, a mercy from you and kindness." Okay, everybody go into that for just a moment. See if you can feel what is the great veil. Okay, and he's asking that this great veil becomes the life of his spirit. You all know what your spirit is, right? Okay, some of you might not know you have a soul, and deep in your soul, in the heart of your soul, there's a chamber, and inside the chamber is the inborn breath of God, and that is called your spirit. And all our spirits are the same, we all have the same spirit, but our souls are different. Okay, so he says, "Make the great veil the life of my spirit by unveiling and eye-witnessing." You hear that a lot in Sufism. What is unveiling? Do you know? What do you think?
Being able to see clearly past the veil is
Exactly, the veil that keeps you from not seeing or not knowing. Okay, so you're going to unveil something inside of you that you don't know in your spirit. Okay, now that's a very high statement. In other words, he wants to open your spirit, to unveil your spirit so that you can see something, eyewitness, because the order from God is for you to know that eyewitnessing.
it the ego?
Well, the ego can be a veil, but this is usually this speaks about the veils of light. And the veils of light are all the things in light that keep you from witnessing the eternal reality. Okay. We have already mentioned the meaning of the veil, and he says, "Your great veil who stands before you, so that you know that all spirits, even if they be subtle, lofty bodies, are like the rest of the lower bodies when they are veiled from Allah, glory and exalted is He. For this reason, the Prophet, may the peace and blessings of God be upon him, said that God, exalted is He, is veiled from the sight of the eyes of the body as much as from the eyes of the heart, and that the highest angels ask God just as you ask God." Okay, what does that mean? Where are we going with that one? Any thoughts?
The angels pray to God like we do.
The angels pray to God like we do, and they ask as we do. And what are they asking for? To lift the veil, so that they can know God. Okay, and the knowing of God is actually the highest thing we can know. In other words, not talking about God and this and that, but the knowing of God, the experience of God, is the highest thing we can know. And what we're all here to do is to open these veils so that we can have that knowing. Okay? Well, there's only one God, but God is the eternal being that's been here forever and created this creation, and in time will pull it back to itself and uncreate it. So we're here, in a way, simply returning to the presence of that God. Okay? Question?
The help works with God is basically it's consciousness, it's unity, it's a oneness.
It's the oneness. It's the eternal oneness. Yes. Yeah.
If the universe is expanding, how can we turn that around and come back to source if we're really expanding further out?
Well, I think that... Okay, yeah. Her question is, if the universe is expanding, how do we turn around and come back to God? Well, that's the essence of the Sufi path. In other words, the way you come back to God is you have to know what God is. You have to feel God. You have to know what God is. And we talk about God, we worship God, but do we really know what God is? In other words, do we know what the light of God is? Can we feel God's presence? Do we know what that presence is? Okay? So that's the first step of Sufism, is you have to know what that light is, and then you are moving your heart back towards it. You're going to move back towards it.
What the universe can still expand.
You can expand all at once. Doesn't matter.
But also remember, one of the miracles of the creation of the human being is that, there's a favorite Sufi expression that I love, you think you're a small star, when in fact you contain the entire universe. So, and that's what the discovery of the heart is all about. Is seeing all the beauty and the expanse of your heart, your soul, and your spirit. So it's not separate from us. Just hold on for a minute, because I really want to make sure that she receives it, because part of Sufism is a transmission. So.
Okay, yes. Question. Go ahead.
I don't want to take the whole class backwards, but I'm still trying to figure out, you said that the soul, the spirit, all in us is the same, but the souls are different. So is that the humanity of us, the soul?
Well, every person has a soul.
Right.
And every soul has a ray, so every soul has a color. Then every soul is composed of the 99 names of God. Okay, there are 99 names of God, such as Ar-Rahman, or compassion, Ar-Rahim, mercy. And each soul has different, let's say, mixtures of it. Okay, so some soul is very compassionate, another soul might not be so compassionate. Okay, and your soul is your individual nature. And it is light. If you eventually open your vision, you will see souls, as you're seeing people sitting here. Those souls surround and enter into your bodies. They're connected to your bodies. They interpenetrate your bodies. Okay? And most people actually don't really know their souls. What they really kind of know is their personality and maybe their heart. And once in a while, they feel their souls. And most people don't know their spirits. They don't really touch that place because it's so subtle inside of them. But in truth, your spirit is actually what's creating your existence for you. Your spirit is bringing the order of God in each moment for each person. So, whatever your spirit brings to you, that's what sets you in motion. Like you're all here because your spirit sent you here.
And is that spirit God?
The spirit is the breath of God, but it's not the complete reality of God.
So when you go into meditation, you say you're aligning your spirit with God.
Yes. Well, sorry. Okay, so I kind of didn't want to go down this path yet, but I guess we're here. But until everyone knows what the light of God is and how you're connected to the light of God, you're actually like a boat without a rudder. Okay, so what's happening when you don't have that connection, what you're doing is you're following your ego, essentially, your desires and the desires of other people, but you don't actually really have your own connection. The entire Sufi path is about establishing that connection and being guided by that connection, and then beginning to surrender to that connection, and then merging with that connection, and then disappearing into that connection. Okay? And for that, we call that walking. You have to actually walk. If you don't do your walking, you'll stay on the fringe. And as long as you stay on the fringe, you won't really know peace, and you won't really know happiness, and you definitely will not know love. And so again, it's almost like you're living life in a very sort of empty way because you haven't really discovered that deep place in yourself. All right, can I go back to I'm going to go back to the reading for just a couple. This is a very high reading, so I hope you can hang in here with me for a little bit longer. He said, therefore, my master, this book was written by our teacher, Sidi. He said, therefore my master, meaning Ashish, requested that he, the prophet, may Allah bless and grant him peace, might be the life of his, meaning Ashish's spirit, in order that he might receive revelation and witnessing directly from God. Okay, so feel that one for just a moment. And you can see where this is going. He's opening his spirit to be able to receive through the light of the prophet, which is the original creation. He's saying, give me direct revelation and eye-witnessing of divine reality and divine knowledge through my spirit. Connecting with your God self. Connecting with God itself. Because higher self, most people's higher self are really the soul. When they say higher self, they're mostly going to the soul. The God self is your spirit. And beyond your spirit is God itself. Okay, so again, let's take a look for just one moment. Why do we think we have this reading for this group? Why did this reading come up for you? That might be true. The boat may be rudderless, okay, and you may be needing that connection to God and through prophetic understanding to be able to right your boat. That's true.
I just had a question. Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So far as I know, the soul can be corrupted. Can the spirit be corrupted?
The spirit is not corrupted, but the spirit can be veiled. So once you pass through the stations of the soul, meaning that you really know your soul, and you open your soul, you will make fana. And fana means that you actually annihilate your experience of your own soul. And your soul stays present, but your attachment to your soul annihilates. That's called fana. And then once you annihilate the fana, you enter into the world of spirit, where you actually get to experience your spirit for the first time.
So the spirit cannot be corrupted, just as well.
It's not corrupted, but it is to a certain level. It's a certain level covered. It has to be uncovered.
But through the soul, it's covered through the soul until you get to the.
Yeah, does it go through the soul, and then the soul annihilates, and you enter the spirit, and then the spirit step by step is returned to the presence of God.
Oh, it's not immediately. It's still there is a lot of layers. And
There's layers.
Oh, okay. Then maybe it still can be corrupted.
I guess, I mean, you would call it corrupted, but for me, corruption is when a light goes into something and it becomes like not the same light. But I don't see the
It's
spirit.
accurate, yes, like I mean corrupted with distortion, like the soul, you know.
You could call it distorted, yeah, but it's not corrupted. The spirit is not corrupted. The spirit's holy, but the spirit has to be unveiled
Unveiled.
to reach to the presence of God.
Okay, what is the difference between unveiled and corrupted? Sorry.
I know you're struggling with that one. You want to say something?
Yeah. So corrupted means that, for me anyway, maybe for you, I don't know, that there's something wrong with my spirit that needs correcting.
No, distorted.
Distorted, that distorted in some way. Unveiled means that it's covered over. My shoes right now are covered over by my
It's
dress.
hidden. It's hidden.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's hidden.
Okay.
Right? That's different than being corrupted.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so it's hidden.
It's hidden.
Yeah, and part of your journey in Sufism is to take it from the place of not being hidden anymore.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you. Yeah.
One of the metaphors you could think about is the sun. When you wake up in the morning, what do you have? You have the first light, right? But there's light. It's been night, and all of a sudden there's light. By the noontime, what's happened to that light? Intensified, and it's raised up, and it's shining strongly. Well, it's the same with the spirit. When you cross in the fana, you're at sunrise, or even before sunrise. But by the time you reach what we call fana fila, fana in God, the sun bursts out into its full radiance, and you have that experience of what we call unity or tawheed or enlightenment happens through that. Yes.
I just wanted to reply to the question you asked, why are you reading this to us
Yep.
specifically? I think because our souls have been challenged through this pandemic stuff that we've been through.
Speak up just, I'm sorry.
Our souls have been
I
challenged
think
by
our souls have been challenged with the pandemic that we're still actually going through. And many of our quote unquote rights are being restricted. And people no longer can speak what they think without being labeled. And I think maybe that's why you are reading this passage to us, because we all have to go back to our spirit and know that we have a power within, and that power within is stronger than anything out there that's going on.
So I think I agree with that. That feels right to me. So maybe the reading is that the spirit of the group is calling for its return.
Yes.
And that you're here, you're taking in all sorts of teachings, a lot of teachings going on here. But the fact that you're in this room means that you're looking for how am I going to bring my spirit back to God. Okay, and for that, it takes a lot of commitment. You have to really, and there's I think a lot of people are seeking very fast, like instant enlightenment is going to happen in one moment. There's a lot of that going around. If you just drink this potion, you have it. But but it really you have to really commit. It's not that way. You have to really commit to know yourself. You have to commit to know yourself, and you have to commit to going through these veils if you're going to return your spirit back to God. So, again, I think we want it, as a group, we want it easy, but it's not that it's easy, it's not hard. but it does take commitment.
Yeah, speaking of many teachings here, you were talking about kind of the goal of peace and happiness and love is kind of the ultimate, most difficult one. Presumably, there are other paths to those goals. Is that true? And if so, are they these same steps in other language and framing, or are they truly different paths?
Well, I think that the path back to God is the same path. I don't think anybody has the trademark ownership of the path. You know, the path back to God has steps, but the one difference is that some steps are through the heart and some steps are through the mind. So, for example, one of my friends is one of the inheritors from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. We spent a long time talking about Vedanta and Sufism. And the truth is that the actual steps that Vedanta uses are almost identical to Sufism. But the only difference is that Vedanta goes through the mind and Sufism goes through the heart. So I think the steps are the same. Okay, so what are the steps? Well, first you have to know what God is. Second, you have to know what your ego is. And third, you have to know what the forces are that try to get you out of God, get you away from God and into the ego or into darkness. Okay, that's the first thing. The second step is you have to return to your heart, and you have to be able to fully surrender your heart to the divine. Okay. The third step is you have to leave the heart, enter the soul. You have to understand your soul, and you have to balance what we call the Jamal and the Jalal, the good and the bad inside yourself. You have to balance them inside yourself. Okay. The fourth step, after you balance and you make the fana, is you have to open that spirit and bring your spirit elevated into the world of unity, the world of God. Okay. The fifth step, once you learn the world of God in its isolated oneness, now God sends you back experiencing isolated oneness with unity, and you have to come back into the world of the soul, but not experiencing your soul from your humanity, but experiencing your soul from divinity.
While living in the 3D?
While living in the 3D. Okay, and you'll see that when you reach your soul, when you reach the unity, the experience of, we say it's your experience in God. And it's incredibly subtle and incredibly beautiful. And the people who reach that, they never want to leave it. That's ecstasy, it's pure ecstasy. That's the nectar they talk about, the Amrita. That's that absolute state of pure ecstasy. But once you're in it for some period of time, you're not just experiencing ecstasy, you're understanding the nature of God itself. Okay, once you have that understanding and God feels that you have enough of it, God then returns you. You begin to make your return back to creation. So the next step is you come to the soul and you experience your soul through the eyes of God. Okay, and that's not easy. Most people don't get past that point. In our Tarika, that's what we seek to get you to. We seek to help you to arrive at that level. But once you go through that level, then God returns you to your heart, and you experience your heart and the world of the heart through the eyes of God. And if you can pass that test, then God returns you all the way back into the creation and sees if you can maintain His light in the creative experience. And if you can do that, then you become perfect master.
So I just want to add one thing that may or may not be helpful. So in that return, you've changed. You're no longer who you once were. That transformation allows you to then see with the eye of God, to hear with the ear of God. The words that you speak are then the words that God wants to speak to humanity. You're walking in the footsteps of all the messengers that God sent to this earth to bring this message of peace and love, mercy and justice and freedom from your own experience of it.
Okay, so this is a question everyone has to kind of ask yourself, which is, are you ready to begin the journey? You see, otherwise we're kind of popcorning around. You know, we're here, we're there, we're checking. I call it, spiritual voyeurism. We're traveling, but we're not focused, right? And at some point you realize, you say, okay, it's time that I make my return. I'm ready for it. Okay, when that happens, that commitment is what changes everything. But you have to make that commitment. If you don't make it, you won't make it. Okay, so take a moment, everybody close your eyes for just a moment. And I want you to be really honest about it. Do you feel that this is your time to begin your return? Is it time? Are you ready? Is it time to make the movement across these oceans to come back to the world of unity, the world of oneness? Is this your time? Okay. And if it is, how committed are you to it? So while you're thinking about this, I'll tell you a brief story. It's a Zen story, but I always loved it. But there were three men crossing a river, and if you ever practice Zen, I practiced Zen before I became Sufi. Zen master will yell "stop," and wherever you are, you just stop. So the three men were crossing this river, and the Zen master yelled "stop," and they stopped in the center of the river, not knowing that there was a flash flood coming down. So the flood started coming down deeper and deeper and deeper, and the water got up to the first man's mouth, and he ran out of the river because he was scared. And Zen master whacked him, and he took off and did whatever they do with Zen master whacks. Okay. Then the second man was in the river, and the river it went higher and higher and crossed over his lips. Now he's almost drowning, and he panicked and he ran out of the river. And Zen master whacked him, and he ran off. And the third man stayed in the river because he trusted the master, and he trusted that this was his time, and he had true sincerity and devotion. The river washed over him. He started to drown, but he decided, I'm not going to leave this river. I will die in it to reach my enlightenment. I will make fana in it to reach my enlightenment. So he died. He passed out and started to die. The Zen master jumped in, pulled him out, hit him over the head, and he reached enlightenment. Okay, those are the three states of sincerity. Are you ready to, if you want to reach the unity, people talk about enlightenment all the time and oneness, but if you want to reach it, you've got to be the third one.
So you have to die first.
You've got to die. To yourself.
But remember, we're all going to die.
Yes.
Right? Every soul will taste death. So Sufis say, die before you die. Right? That's what that annihilation is die before you die. And really, in its essence, we say die before you die, but any of you that have had near-death experience knows it's the biggest embrace of love and light that you've ever experienced. So why not die before you die?
And it's not physical death. We're not talking physical death, but we're talking about spiritual death.
The death of the ego.
The death of the ego. One of our beloveds, I know the story. She was attending one of our more advanced workshops, and we were sitting outside in I don't know what it was, a hot spring resorts up in somewhere, Oregon, or where was it, Connecticut? Can't remember. Connecticut. They had these massive oak trees, with I don't know what, 30, 40 feet around, and their arms go on forever. And all of a sudden, she was sitting having lunch, and there was a snap, and she looked up, and this branch about 8 to 10 feet in diameter was falling on top of her. And in that moment, she said, "I'm going to die." And what happened was, in the moment of realizing she was dying, she said, "My spirit jumped out of my body and it prostrated to God. I prostrated to the will of God in death." In that moment of prostration, she made her fana. She reached in that moment. And then what happened is, somehow, miraculously, the tree moved over just enough that it missed her. It crushed the table. It went down into the wood deck, like a foot into the deck. But it missed her. But she completed. Okay? So you have to surrender it. If you want to reach the unity, it is a surrender of your spirit. Your spirit has to completely prostrate to the Most High. And in that prostration, you disappear and God exists.
How we surrender. How we surrender.
Why you surrender? Well, we teach it. That's how you learn. You learn it step by step. These 28 stations that Salima was talking about is progressive surrender.
And the first step of surrender is letting go of what you desire. You heard the expression, let go to let God. It's probably the hardest thing that we do.
You just lost the room.
That's it. It's the hardest thing that we do. Nobody wants to let go. Right? So I told you the candy store story. Right? Why are you hanging on to one piece of candy when God wants to give you the whole store?
I want to walk you through a little, just maybe maybe we could do this together. It might be a fun exercise. Everybody close your eyes for just a moment. Okay. And I want you to just be with me as we walk through these stations, okay? And you kind of get a taste of them, at least. All right? So let's imagine that you're the average humanity, kind of out there, trying to make money, trying to survive. There's no spiritual understanding. You're basically living by your desires. Okay, I want you to tune into that and feel that. Okay, imagine that most of the world is kind of walking around in that state. Okay. Okay. How does it feel when you're in that state? How do you feel? You can call it out. Give me a few words.
Lost.
Empty,
Unfulfilled.
hopeless, defeated,
Unfulfilled.
unfulfilled, but seeking, right? You're on the what do you call it? The rat wheel, trying to get your desires filled, right? Okay. All right. Now let's let that go. All right. Now see if you can follow my heart with this. Okay. Now we're going to raise your octave a little bit. We're going to move you up to your heart. You're going to be in your heart. You're going to be opening your heart very wide so that you're experiencing incredible love coming through your heart. And as you're in the love, you're starting to experience so much beauty. And you start to notice that you're drawing beauty into your life. So now the people that come into your life love you and you love them. You love your work because it's a reflection of your heart. And you start to notice that there is a real presence of the divine that's with you all the time. Okay, now feel that for a moment. Okay, and we call that the second station. Okay, how does that feel? Let's hear a few words for that. Your blood is moving more, your heart is open, the chakras spinning in there. Right? Is there more love? Do you feel more connected? More beauty? Expansion, really deep expansion. Okay. Alright, now let's go to the third station. Okay, now we're going to close your eyes again. Now this one's harder. Okay, now we have to get very subtle. Okay, now in Sufism this is called the state of Ihsan. Ihsan means excellence. So we're going to be moving into the state of Al-Ihsan. Okay? So now you're going up into your soul. I want you to let go and go into your soul. And I want you to start to experience the subtle expansion of your soul, and the light of your soul, and the beauty of your soul, the oneness of your soul. And notice as you're going up higher, you start to feel closer, like you're starting to come home. You're starting to feel like this is really who I am. This is really what I am. And in that, you start to experience the nature of your soul. Okay? The nature of the soul means you have 99 names in there. So you experience Ar-Rahman, you experience compassion, you experience mercy, and you experience divine love, and divine peace, divine goodness. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, As-Salam. Okay. You start recognizing this connectedness. There's like a connectedness, a oneness starts to come in. And you're starting to feel complete. You're starting to feel a completion. See if you can let yourself go in there and really let go, because until you hit your soul, you're kind of really still stuck in the creation. But the soul is the first real step out of it. You start to feel freedom. In fact, in some systems, reaching the soul is considered enlightenment. But it's really not. It's a pseudo-enlightenment. Okay, so feel that. Give me some words for that state. What's the state of the soul?
Peaceful. Peaceful.
Peaceful. Yes, exactly. Peace. The soul is very peaceful. That's true. Beautiful. What else? Give me some more.
Spacious. Spacious.
Spacious. A lot bigger, isn't it? You're expanding more. Okay. Okay, that's the third station. Okay, now let's see if we can reach the fourth. This is a stretch, but let's go for it. All right, so I want you to start to go even deeper. I want you to go deeper inside yourself. Okay, even deeper. Keep going deeper and deeper and deeper inside yourself. Okay, you're going to let go of all your own interpretation, all of your own things. And now you're going to go into the light of your spirit. Okay, you're going to go into the light of your spirit, which is really the light of God. And this is like your first experience of divine light. Okay, feel the spiritual light inside of you. Realize you're home. Like now you're really reaching home. You're coming home. You're in the state of your spirit. Okay, the subtle feeling of oneness. There's this deep state of oneness connecting all things. Now, whether you realize or not, you're going to go here when you die. You'll be going here when you leave your your body, so it might be good to know it ahead of time. Okay, right. Experience that oneness of the spirit. We call that the secret. Okay, and now we're going to take one last step. You're going to imagine that the spirit is rising up higher and higher and higher and deeper and deeper and deeper. And all of a sudden the spirit just bursts into light. And as it bursts into light, there's an illumination of light and enlightenment that happens, and a presence with God that you've never had before. It's like you're completely swimming in God's reality. Now you have absolute freedom. Freedom from yourself. Freedom from creation. Freedom from suffering. Freedom from illusion. Freedom from desire. Freedom from everything. And instead, you're now flying free in the unity. The eternal unity. You've reached your home. You've come home. Your true home. This is your place of arrival. This is really where you're seeking. If you're on a spiritual path, you're seeking this state, even if you don't know it. This is where you're trying to get to. Complete freedom. And the beauty, is that for those of you in religion, when you reach this state, it's a direct pass right into heaven after you die. You're completely free. You're free and you live eternally. You're done. You're free. Okay. So, any thoughts on that?
I'm just curious to hear people's reactions and thoughts and blocks, veils, things that got in the way.
The talking, I felt like I was going there, I was there, and then the talking.
I pulled you out of it?
Yeah. It was a little challenging.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, she said it was a little challenging. She was there and feeling the beauty of being, one of my favorite expressions is being present with the presence, right? Being present with the
But I've never
presence.
done that before, so
Yeah.
it's beautiful, it was amazing.
Yeah. It was beautiful and amazing, she said. Yeah.
What was the experience of that place?
I mean, I don't know if I, fully went to the depths, but it was like this expand, like my light and source's light converging, and there was an expansion,
Yes.
and then it was talking.
Did everybody hear her? Yeah.
That's okay. No, I've never done that. That was beautiful. Right.
And talking is a different vibration, right? That you're entering a world where there is no talking, right?
Yeah.
And that's why it was so jolting all of a sudden to hear the talking.
Yeah, and it's a little challenging to try to keep your thoughts not
Mm-hmm.
interfering or to just observe.
To just observe it. And that's what we call the witnessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when Ibrahim was doing the reading. That's what we mean when we use the word witnessing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there's no thoughts in that place.
I just kept thinking about how this plays out in the real world, because by going through this exercise, you have to stop thinking about, getting to your son's soccer game, or, producing productive output, or, the projects you committed to, or your calendar. So are we talking about something where you just need to remove yourself from the world selectively for a while, do this, and then you can come back? Or can you do this while you're achieving everything else in your life, and how does that look to other people around you? So.
You have choice, you know. You can do it by going into a spiritual retreat and abiding in there till you're ready to go back. Or the beauty of this process that we were told in the Shadow Leah Way is that you can do it during your life, during your regular life. And it's done through a Sufi practice called remembrance, where you're just remembering a name of God and repeating that over and over again. And you can do that while you're driving, you can do that while you're picking your kids up from soccer. It's not like meditation where your eyes are closed and you're lost in that meditation world. It's a process of remembering this place that you've always known.
Well, I connected to what this gentleman was musing about. For me, it was achieving a kind of an ecstatic feeling. And so then, that was something new for me. But it's now it's something to remember, that's out there and that's how it could be. So I'm back here now fully, but I've been there, so.
So you remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we call it remembrance. Right?
Right.
But I think, again, you can see that, even touching the state, it's on some level people are leaving. In other words, not everybody wants to touch the state because, for whatever reason, it's difficult when you touch it. It brings up something. So this is where you really have to look at, your commitment, because it's to reach it, you have to let yourself disappear. And in the disappearance, your spirit returns. And when it returns, you have, this, what we touched tonight is kind of like a drop of an ocean. The ocean goes on and on and on and on and on. It's incredibly beautiful. And it's calling. But you have to make that commitment, and that's a very, very deep commitment. So, we've made it. In other words, we gave our life to it. And we said, Siddhi, take your sword and slay us. Just so we don't even want the Zen stick, we want the sword. Just do the sword. But, it worked in the sense that it broke those places in ourselves that allowed that presence to reveal itself. And once you have it or you experience it, you'll never go back. There's nothing in creation not a house, not $1 billion, not nothing. There's nothing like it. You will never go back to creation, ever. Ever. So, again, this is kind of the Sufi path. You have to really feel it and see if that's what you want. But it's not going to be, it's not the fly-by-night stuff. It's not kind of just, okay, I'm going to, do this and I'm there. It doesn't work that way. You have to really, put your energy into it. You take your time, you go with it. But then when you go with it, you start day by day experiencing it. Get the opening of it. Like, it hurts me, makes me sad that people run out when they touch it. But I also know that it's not their time yet. It takes time to get there. So.
I spent almost 50 years of spiritual practice trying to get to those highest levels, maybe glimpsing tiny, But when you describe that heart level, after all the losses and different things that have happened to me over the years, and my own psyche's response to them, that sounded like heaven. I was like, that's what I wanted to get back to if I had a choice, of all those levels.
That's the one you want. Yeah, a lot of students actually love that level. And they hit that level and they're happy.
You lost it for a while when you used to have it, and then you've lost it for a number of years.
But this time you have to do your walking. In other words, we don't really lose something unless we have a weakness in ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then Allah will bring what you need to show you that. And then when you go through it, then you establish the new level.
When you get older, it's a little hard to be in all the aspects of that situation that you described. You know, it's not as easy to get work, you know, and, you know, even if you're a writer, I mean, that shouldn't affect that, but it does, and, you
Yeah.
know, and you tend to get more isolated often. So, yeah.
Yeah, but it don't, I'm thinking actually the lady right next to you here, Amina, she said those words 10 years ago and was, I couldn't, you guys sit next to each other, are you friends? So, all right.
I felt like, it made me feel very happy, like I was beaming. But when I was going there, I was like, I felt presence here, but I thought, is my soul leaving my body?
Exactly.
Or is it the spirit? Or like, what's happening?
That will get clear as you go. You'll get clearer. But really what happened is you touched your spirit, started to open, but at the same time, okay, I interrupted you, so I apologize. But
But is the soul actually leaving our body, or is the spirit is projecting into?
each level that you reach, you have cocoons of light around you, right? So when you hit the soul cocoon, you feel the soul, but there's an ocean of the souls, so you're also in the ocean. And then when you reach the spirit, you enter the world of God, so you're in your spirit, but you're also in the world of God simultaneously. Yeah. Is that enough for you? It's like, have I gone far enough? Okay, yes.
So it occurred to me during this, and I've been trying to figure out why I didn't leave earlier, because I had something else to do.
Yeah.
But I was drawn in here, and so it occurred to me why I'm here. So bear with me. My desires, my ego, I have to let that go in order for me to have this call to a spiritual journey. And along that journey, there are these phases or stages. And there's this physical, not a physical death, but a spiritual thing that happens. And then there's this return, and there's this, you reach a crossroads at that return point. Do you willingly return, or what happens during the return?
When you come back?
Yeah.
Well, you don't actually make the decision. God makes it. And so at some point, God will decide whether you're going to return or not. And if he doesn't, and you stay in that state of what we call isolated oneness, it's ecstatic, and like you experience, it's beautiful, and many people never want to leave that state. But some people find that deep down they're looking for more. They understand that there's something more going on, and they want that complete experience. They know it's not done, they feel it. And those people, they actually call to God. They say, I know this isn't it, but God, please give me more. There's something more waiting. And then God says, okay, my beloved, you really want to know even more of me. Now I'm going to send you back as my light, connected to my light, and I'll give you the experience of my creation so that you can experience my expression in creation.
And you have to be willing to let go of the desire to get there.
You have to let go. Well, the desire can drive you, but at the end you have to let it go, right? And that's the question. Like in your case, I can feel it. You've been dabbling for a long time, I think, right?
Right, and the commitment.
But now's your time. Now, and that's why you're here.
Right, and I know that. Thank you.
Welcome.
And the striving is actually helpful in the beginning. It's a little different than our desire. That a striving to know actually allows you to start to enter into the place that is difficult, of looking at the places of separation within us that need to return to unity, that need to return to oneness. And that's where the striving is helpful. And then the beauty is there's a magnetic attraction that then happens where you can let go of your striving because you feel that magnetic pull that's just taking you home. I think you do too.
I mean, that's the state. When you know who Rumi is, right?
Yes.
Rumi was in that we call it the ishq, but it was that he entered that magnetic attraction, and he was calling to return. And he, if you read Rumi, that's the beauty of Rumi, is that he's in the ishq, and his beloved is God, and he's calling back to God. So, well, if you're interested, we are teaching the Sufi path. We particularly are a healing order, in the sense that we spend a lot of time working with purification and healing. So we teach the Sufi path, but we're also teaching the healing and the purification. I'll be talking about that tomorrow. And if you feel that this is something you're interested in, then please, visit us or come explore. We have an Institute of Spiritual Healing, which is kind of our introductory level, where we'll teach you who you are in the sense of these levels. We'll show you how to heal the veils and go through them, and we'll show you the basic walking of the path. And then, that's an 18-month program. And then if you're feeling ready, then you enter into the University of Sufism. This is Salima's the co-president of the University of Sufism, and Kamala here is the other co-president in the blue head covering. And with that, they will help you, and I'll be there. We'll help you to walk through the Sufi path. Now that's the real Sufi path happens at that time. And for that, you really have to go through your own heart. You have to really clear everything. We call the station of Al-Iman, which is the station of faith, into the station of Al-Ihsan, which is the station of excellence. And if you keep walking, you enter into the station of Al-Itkan, which is the station of unity. So we'll help you to reach those stations through the University of Sufism. And that's the purpose there.
And as a side benefit, you get a Master's of Divinity in several areas: peacemaking, spiritual ministry, sound healing, end-of-life healing, and there's one more, advanced healing. Yes? That's the sound healing, is the music, music and the arts. And, and ministry. Right. So I have a gift for some of you. I hope I have enough as you're leaving. It's a CD on how to live a joyful and holy life. So thank you all so much for coming. And remember Ibrahim's talk tomorrow. He's on a panel at 12 and another lecture at 5.
Thank you very much. It's really a pleasure to be with you. And I hope we didn't shake you up too much. Okay. Good night, everyone.
Oh yeah.
they're gonna leave. Let me hug you. I just want to hug Oh yeah, so here you go. So I'm at 101.2. I haven't gotten my I'm gonna give you my name in case you have it. So I'm in Mississippi. I've been in school for 5 minutes. Okay. So if you practice is that right? So did you get my okay, if you scan you're gonna sign on Monday, Dr. Jaffe. I know you're gonna get more Dr. Jaffe. It's very rare that he does this. And on Monday he's gonna do a love talk and it's and then on Wednesday you'll also get invited. I know. And he's gonna talk about scanner. Yeah. And this I'll just and my name is Ibraham Jaffe. I'm Lebanese. What about you guys? Probably. Some of my ancestors are they immigrated. So what's your last name?
How I was supposed to be, I guess it was
I
Like what? 200. So my ancestors came from they immigrated, so I'm living in Canada. I don't know.
Oh wow!
And they didn't
Your class.
Oh yeah. It's really but yeah, I'm sure normally people that come on have some related to the movement.
Really? If you're excited doing it too.
your name is yeah, well, Los Angeles anyway,
But you know, the Arab state goes back to Spain.
yeah.
In Toronto. Yes.
That's
Oh, I got goosebumps. So like belly dancing. I do the Shakira. Yeah, I have Lebanese accent. But we do the dance. We do the dance. Around. Yes.
She asked me, she likes
There's one song.
which one? This, I know which one. I know which one. Yeah, I know. She's like about it. Yeah. Go see. No. You're gonna get a chance. It's very rare to meet. Take your time. Take your time. Yes.
Seguro te vas a para que tanto tiempo. Sería mejor. Soy como esa. Right.